All right, and we are back. What's good, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Mindful Mentality Podcast. I am your co-host, Mr. Caleb Rosenberg, and today we are actually a little bit behind schedule. So Daniel and Will be joining us as well. They'll pop into the stream relatively soon. But as you guys know, I'm not mainly the guy who talks about the disclaimers. So just kind of a brief wrap up. We're here to help people expand their minds. We're helping people gain a positive mentality, gain an opportunity to expand their mindset, to see a new light at the end of the day. And so our goal is to help 1,000 people. Obviously, once we hit that goal, we're going to just supersede that, and we're going to go ahead and kind of try to make it more of a national thing. So right now, again, whatever you guys can do to help us out, get this out to other folks. Just let us know what topics you want to hear, conversations you want to hear, anything to that nature, questions you guys have. We would love feedback. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So Mr. Lane, how are you doing today?
Hey, thanks for having me. Aloha, everybody.
Yeah, thank you for joining us here, and we're gonna get you guys a little bit of background there on Lane as well. But for those who are wondering, kind of who we have on the podcast today, Lane, can you give people kind of a gist of kind of where your upbringing was and kind of your story and what you're kind of into right now?
Yeah, so today I own 7,000 rental properties, about $1 billion of assets under ownership. But it all started back in 2009 when I bought my first rental property, and that's we kind of help
Wow,
people just get going.
wow. And what I guess we can jump right into it. What kind of made you I know a little bit about your story, but as far as what kind of got you into real estate in the first place?
Yeah, like a few years before buying my first rental, up to that point, I call it the linear path. A lot of people told to study hard, go to school, get a good job, or get that job for 40, 50 years, investing in your 401k and buying a house along the way. And we're all kind of brainwashed to do all that type of stuff. And I don't necessarily think that that stuff, it works. It just takes you 40, 50 years. But, there's a different way of doing it, that kind of the red pill way, if you call, for finances. I discovered it when I bought my first house to live in, which again, that's just the normal path that we're all taught to do. But because I was traveling all over for work, as most young professionals are, I started to rent it out. And that was when I got the taste of cash flow and realized that I could just rinse, wash, repeat this, invest passively, don't make it a day job. Don't do all this wholesaling and flipping nonsense you see out there, and just kind of do this as I was working my day job as an engineer, and just build up passive cash flow from there. Eventually, quit the rat race.
And that's amazing. And I love how you said kind of not going the typical way about things and kind of not going about the typical way. Can you speak to the people as far as the power of patience? Because it wasn't just overnight that you had all thousands of units and a huge portfolio. So can you talk to the people about the power of just staying patient?
Yeah, generally, if things are easy, it's usually not really repeatable and requires lots of luck. What you want is something that's kind of hard and takes a while to get into. This passive real estate investing thing that we kind of teach folks is, you're not going to double your money in like 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It's not the get rich quick scheme, but it's the get rich surely thing that over time you just keep adding to your portfolio. You start to implement different strategies to pay less taxes, start to bank from yourself. And this is the way that the wealthy do things, very differently than what we're all kind of taught. And, after a while, what I started to realize is, and there's a lot of other wealthy people out there that, think the same thing, is the whole system is engineered to keep everybody working, right? If everybody bought a handful of rentals, paid them off, I don't think paying them off is necessarily the right thing to do. But even if you did do a bad strategy like that, you'd be able to probably quit your day job in a decade or two, about half as half as amount of time as the normal person.
100%. I definitely agree, and that's something that we've talked about many times in the past as well, is that the system in general is designed to be a certain way, to teach people a certain way, to be a worker, to be an employee, because that's how the world goes round. Like you said before, we can't all be having tens of thousands of units. It wouldn't work out that way. And so I like how you saw the opportunity and you saw a chance to do something different, and you kind of had that mental conversation with yourself that this isn't going to be necessarily easy, but that's why it's going to be worth it, because anything that comes easy, then everybody could do it. But knowing that there's going to be struggles, there's going to be hardship, there's going to be obstacles you have to come to overcome, that's just a whole different mindset, which I think is a big reason why people turn away from, whether it's real estate or just investing in general. They don't have that patience. They don't have that mindset of, like you had said before, it's not a get rich quick, it's a get rich for sure. And so I love that. I absolutely love that. And as far as kind of what was throughout your journey, what was kind of the toughest thing that you faced, as far as whether it was a mentality thing or something physical or anything to that nature? What was the toughest thing that you had to overcome through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that I do, it's not active real estate investing, all this wholesaling, flipping, all this stuff you see on TV. I mean, that's all the risky and hard stuff. The stuff I do is actually kind of boring, right? Buy properties with 20% down payment. The hardest thing is saving up the money. This is real estate investing. If you don't have money to invest, you can't play the game. So the hardest part, I think, for a lot of people, and even myself included in the beginning, is getting that 20% down payment. You're buying $100,000 house, you're going to need 20, 25 grand of liquid cash. For a lot of people, that's just, it ain't going to happen for a lot of
Right.
people. Let's be honest, right? But there's a lot of people out there that make pretty good salaries, 50, 60 grand plus, multiple six figures, that they can save 50, 100, couple $100,000 a year to plow into real estate investing. And that was essentially my story. I mean, I didn't get paid that much as an engineer, but I was really good at saving my money, being frugal. And at the end of the day, it's not really how much you make, it's how much you save. But then again,
Hmm.
it's how much you put to investments. So I was able to put away anywhere from 50 to $100,000 to investing every single year, and I just acquired more rentals. Probably
Wow.
a little bit better than the average cat out there for sure, right? But if
Yeah.
you're about half that, you're still moving, right? I mean, you're still getting the football down the field.
Yeah, and and I love that, because it is tough for people. And something that I've personally noticed with people who are even close to me is the more money that they make, the more that they spend. So you go from making 5 grand a month and your living expenses are, let's say, 2,500 bucks, but now you're making 8 to 10,000, but now your living expenses are 6,000 a month. And so how can you kind of help the people kind of make that transition, as far as, because it sounds simple on paper, you make more money, don't necessarily upgrade your whole lifestyle, don't, there's no need to get a new car or anything like that. But from your experience, how do you deal with your income is going up, but you have to have that mental discipline to be like, no, I need to stay true to this?
Yeah, I mean, they call this a hedonic treadmill, right? You keep buying more and more and more. Your lifestyle creep is another term for it.
Mm.
It's a natural thing to happen, and yeah, I'm sure I do it too. But you got to kind of, there's a saying like pay yourself first, but in this case, invest your money first for yourself. So
Ooh.
what I was thinking, like, if you're putting away 30 to 50,000 dollars a year to rental properties or going into syndication deals as a passive investor, I mean, do that first, then go spend the rest if you that's what you want, right? But I think what most times, if you can kind of start off with an end in mind, what kind of lifestyle you want to have in 1, 3, 5 years, kind of go hit that, as opposed to if you don't have that in mind, you're just going to have what your peers around you are kind of shooting for and keep up with the Joneses. And, essentially most people are just going on autopilot in life and just going off what their peer group are doing, whether buying the swimming pool or the fancy car, and they make less than 50 chip grand a year. That's just what
100%.
people do.
And that's tough. And that's something that I've also witnessed with even family members just trying to keep up with the Joneses. And at the end of the day, you're not necessarily impressing anybody. You're just trying to prove yourself worthy to people who have other things going on in their life, more important.
Yeah, most people spend all their time, making money so they can buy things to impress other people that they themselves don't even really like. Like it's not really their true inner circle. And it's a sad thing, right? I mean, I think all too often younger people, and when I say mean younger people, I'm meaning anywhere from over 50 to 60,
Mm,
70, right? Some people don't even get it until that at that point. It's like you got to stop caring what other people think about you.
yeah, 100%. And that's something that has helped us, especially being younger. And, because Daniel is 22, I'm 23, and just being young, it's very natural to either compare yourself or to, try to um, kind of paint this certain picture or live a certain lifestyle. But at the end of the day, you have to realize what your goals are. And I always tell Daniel that I'm not necessarily, once I made this shift, a lot of things changed in my life. And that shift was I'm not running a sprint, I'm running a marathon. So you can get to 100,000, 10 million, whatever that number is, you can get there before me. But I know that I'm going to get there and surpass that level in my lifetime because I'm running a longer race. I'm not worried about how quick can I get to a certain number. And so that's really what's changed our mindsets a lot is not comparing yourself and not caring about what other people think.
Yeah. At the same time, right? Like I think 95% of the people out there, yeah, you probably shouldn't be comparing yourself to, but you got to find those people that you should be and, keeping pace with those types of people and, the people that are on that right trajectory.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people tend to follow individuals that they don't necessarily want that lifestyle, if that makes sense. So on social media, you'll see, a lot of guys or a lot of women, they have cars, bags, cash, all these expensive trips. And a lot of people are chasing this certain type of lifestyle when they don't even want that lifestyle. And
Yeah.
so that's something that's helped me is a big goal of mine is always, even from the day we found out about real estate, our goal has been apartments, apartments, apartments. And so the people that I look up to are people who are in the syndication space, in the apartment space in general. And I like to see how they operate, how they move, how they run their businesses. It's not me chasing, the next most popular person on social media that's got all these cars and all this cash laying around. Because typically what I've found is a lot of the top of the line people, they aren't like flashy. Is that something that you've seen?
Well, there's a saying out there, money talks, right? I mean, it's loud, but wealth whispers. Wealth, if you're truly wealthy, you don't want to be flaunting and showing it around for office liability issues. But it's
Yeah.
just, you start to see the real investors, especially accredited investors out there, they act very differently than your TikTok or Instagram celebrity out there. And then you start to dig into people's balance sheets and net worth statements, and numbers don't lie. Right? It doesn't matter what bag or car or what you're doing. Net worth is kind of the ultimate barometer, I think. And you start to see trends in people who actually have in part of the two comma club and the kind of the values that they have and the things they buy as a byproduct of those values.
Mm. That definitely makes sense. And that's something that I have seen. And you obviously get those, those oddballs here and there that just like to just, enjoy their life, enjoy nice things, but at the end of the day, that's something again that I've come across as well as a lot of the people that I personally want to follow in their footsteps. Um, they live very quiet lives. They're not in the media. They're very, business assets and investing, and that's kind of their thing. They're not trying to be the most famous person on the internet. And so, as far as kind of running your own race, because I guarantee, I'm assuming that naturally you saw people who were doing this level of real estate or they were investing in real estate. So how did you kind of keep that grounded mindset and not, you know, compare yourself to where, oh, I'm not at this level yet, or I'm not here yet, or I don't have this many yet. How did you kind of battle that?
I just don't. don't watch any of that, right? I'm not on
Mm,
social media. Um, the way I see it, most of the people are kind of fake celebrities that aren't really in the game. If not, they're just marketers, right?
yeah.
Um, I mean, we just keep to ourselves, right? Whether it's buying rental property after rental property or now apartments these days. I mean, just keep on doing our own thing. I mean, really, there's no one really that we compare against, right? Because all our folks that are competitors are kind of larger Wall Street companies, and they're kind of faceless companies who've kind of sold out and disappeared into thin air. And that's usually where people with true wealth kind of go. They go that route, the institutional route.
Mm, yeah, that definitely makes sense. And and I like that because a lot of times, even on this podcast, we've mentioned to a lot of folks that one of the best things you can do for yourself is to set time limits on your social media apps and set a do not disturb and really just hop out of that virtual world and live inside the real world, because that's really going to not only just help with the mentality that you need to be progressing forward, but it's going to eliminate a lot of negativity and a lot of kind of fluff or something I tell Daniel all the time that irks me to the fullest is I'll see something on social media, whatever platform it is, and you see somebody getting on and they're talking about how easy it is to do, whether it's buying rentals or whether it's wholesaling or fixing and flipping, and they make it sound like it's a simple four-step process that anybody could do in their sleep. And for me, the reason why it irks me is because I know the level of effort and sacrifice it takes to be, even somewhat successful. So my thing is, it just really irks me when you get a lot of like the people who are just spitting fluff to just get a couple more followers. But I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of two people in life, right? People who create content and consume it. So if you're out there scrolling your social media feed, you probably aren't doing anything, dude. You're not creating anything, right? Um, and then the other thing, I mean, like people kind of doing marketing on social media. I mean, I think most like people say social media is like good and free marketing, right? But it's a crowded market, right? From a marketing perspective, do you really want to be like fishing in a hole that everybody else is fishing, and it's kind of like a shit show with all these like low level marketers out there? I mean, go out there and create true value. I mean, strong, like whether you're running a plumbing business or you're doing apartment syndication or coaching business, everybody knows that the best way to get your customers is making the current ones happy, fulfillment, right? I mean, like for us, half of all our clients come in are referrals of other existing clients. I
Oh
mean,
wow.
I think and that's where you get to a point where most people on social media or like the free or like the basic coaching level programs, they teach you to go get those on social media because you don't got any freaking customers at this point, right? Who'll give you referrals. You're on that first step of, the 5-10 step program of being an entrepreneur. But if you actually focus on giving your current clients, or heck, get some free clients that they don't pay you, but they're just going to help them, have them being your first refer part people to you. That's the way I would waste my time, or I think the other way is wasting your time, but that's the way I would spend my time actually making, getting that wheel going, then kind of fishing in another like square one role from marketing from an internet social media perspective.
100%. Because a lot of, especially in the
Because
real
a lot
estate
of
world, a lot of things are heavily based on relationships. And so if you can focus on the relationships and not necessarily, obviously there's KPI, you have your KPIs and you have your numbers, but as far as just focusing on the relationships, to me, building a relationship is much more important than essentially any dollar amount, because that's your reputation. That's how people view you. And again, it brings referrals or just opens up your network to other high level individuals or other key individuals that you may need in your lifetime. And so that's something that we've preached to a lot of people as well, is not to necessarily, because we all love money. Money's great. It helps a lot in just in life in general. But as far as when it comes to money or a relationship, I would personally much rather have a relationship rather than be worried about how much I'm gonna make. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, whether, you can trade one for the other, right? Social capital is probably more harder to get, and like you said, leads to more referrals or business down the road in the future. It's a lot harder to convert a brand new lead than one that's been referred in. I mean, that's just dead obvious, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Daniel, can you hear us okay?
Yeah, I was about to say, can you guys finally hear me? I know
Yeah.
my audio has been really choppy.
That's no, we can hear you okay.
Yes, perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I had a quick question. I know you guys are talking about referrals and getting your first like getting that coming back, that client coming back. What does it take from going to 0 to 1? Because that's usually the hardest thing is getting your first client, your first customer. If you guys haven't
yeah,
touched on that yet.
well, I mean, that's where you spray and pay on the internet, on social media, right? But too many people spend too much damn time doing that. But
Yeah.
I mean, what I would suggest is go and find out people that actually like go build an audience and then go and help them. You can help them. They don't need to pay you, right? If you're really good at what you're at, these guys are going to be your people who are going to shepherd in new clients to you, right? Or at least they'll give you a nice testimonial for all the thing that you're helping them out. If you're not helping them out and you're not making a nice, happy customer who's happy at the end to refer you, you probably suck at what you do, and you probably should just retinker it or stop doing what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
Because if people who aren't paying anything aren't happy, you're not going to get somebody to pay $100 and be happy. That ain't going to happen, right? And this comes back to maybe you should do what you do. You should go back to a day job. That's why most people should have day jobs. That's why there's college, right?
100%. I agree. Um, that's something that we focused on as far as building this podcast. It's not for us. We know that in the future there may be an opportunity to offer a course, offer an ebook, something to that respect. But right now, for a good majority of the first, whether it's 6 months, 12 months, however long it may take, we just want to focus on providing value because that's something that my mentor has always told me. Because I asked him, how do you just keep giving out so much information and so much just resources all the time? Because he's very helpful in my life, very helpful with our businesses as well. And he always preaches to me that his main focus in life is how much value can he provide to somebody, and that's what has got him so far. And so that just always rings in the back of my head before I even think about how much I want to charge or how much what I want to offer, what product or service I want to offer to somebody. My initial thought is how can I provide value to this person at no cost to them. And I think that's kind of a different when you're playing in that realm. I think it's a much different, obviously intent, but there's a much different outcome, if that makes sense.
Right. I mean, when you're thinking from that perspective, it makes things very clear and simple, right? And if you can't do that clear and simple thing, help people what they want to be helped at, you can't do that, then you probably shouldn't be doing what you're doing, right? You're going to
Right.
maybe switch it up or, again, go find a job, right? Job, right? Where somebody else found a way to help other people and you just kind of power that along and build their dream. But yeah, I mean, that's it's pretty basic, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of people just, and this is gonna sound very straight to the point, but a lot of people just don't have what it takes. And it's nothing against them or their character. It's just that I'm a big believer that everybody has a role to play. And there's nothing wrong with the role that you have to play in this world. Everybody fits in somewhere. But understanding where you fit in can really just help, not only just help people around you, but it helps you the most. And I see a lot of people that are just getting into what they are under the impression is a get rich quick scheme, and then it doesn't work out, or they kind of ruin the market for others, or whatever the outcome may be. I just think that a lot of people are trying to play in a role that's pitched to them, because that's what the internet is. Everything's being pitched to you. And so a lot of people are operating off of this pitch, not even realizing that A, they may not even be good at that thing, and B, it's probably not something they're passionate about, and it's not ever going to bring them true happiness like they think it might, you know?
And I think a lot there's a allure to being an entrepreneur, right? You don't have a job, you don't gotta go to college, you know, you can just kind of wake up one day and call yourself an entrepreneur. I'm not just saying call yourself, but yeah, you and I know,
It's a
right?
hot. Everybody wants to do it.
Yeah, I mean, you guys know. I mean, if you have LinkedIn on your LinkedIn, you're entrepreneur on there or CEO of one, you know, you're just can't find a job, bro, right? Like, let's be honest. Um, I mean, that's kind of the world that we live in, but still, nevertheless, right? People they go off ego and they're like, oh, I don't want to have a job. I don't want to have a boss. I'll be my own boss, right? Boss man, boss lady. But you know, like I worked my engineering job for about a dozen years until I finally quit my job, and I think that's the way to do it. Build
Mhm.
your thing as a side gig, and passive real estate is probably the easiest side gig you can get. It's not even like to me, it's not even a real business. It's almost like investing in stocks where you don't do jack almost. It's
Yeah.
a little bit more handsier than that, but you know, build it. And I think the good thing about that is you know you have to feed businesses with money. Um, your day job can be a great source of money to pay for things, pay for the right consultants, get yourself the right training, um, make the slow months, you know, get to those slow months, and then it essentially helps you while you're short on time as you're working your day job, which is your primary way you're trading time for money. Um, you can start to build systems in a lean environment where, I mean, you know, very typical, right? Some people start their entrepreneur venture and they have all this freaking time in the world and they're just fat with time. And they have, you know, they just don't really build the systems the right way.
100%. And that's something that we personally experienced. We both, what was that, 2 years ago? Being young, we were just like, let's just jump into it. You know, if we're gonna make a mistake, we're gonna make it now. But we quickly realized that to your point, the best way to do it is to have something stable that you're working, 40, 45 hours a week, and you might have like, how do I say this? You might have much less time, but it's going to make things so much easier. And I can't stress that to people enough when it comes to like business owning or entrepreneurship. It's not like you just like leave your job and all of a sudden like you have a business that makes, 7 figures a year, 8 figures a year, whatever the case may be. It's a lot of constant grinding and constant work at the beginning. It's not just going to one day just all of a sudden things are great. You have this great multi-million dollar business. And so I preach that to a lot of people is that whatever your dream is, whatever your envision is, like keep your job until the side income can replace your job or surpass that income. And I think a lot of people are just so eager or so excited, whatever the word is for it. I mean, it's just crazy to me because and again, I'm not somebody who's judging because I did the same thing. I just left my job and I was like, if I'm gonna, risk it, I'm gonna risk it all because I was 20 years old at the time. And so I was like, I mean, I don't got anything else going on. And so I just I really want people to take that to heart is that don't get so eager that you're just gonna make like irrational decisions because having a job, if I would have had a job that was like stable 40 hours a week, W-2, whatever that it was, that would have been bringing consistent income into me to provide to the business versus me constantly shoveling money out of my pocket when I'm not generating any money, you know?
Right, right. And it, you know, it also goes the opposite way. Like I have clients who make multiple six figures at their day job and they're not entirely happy and they want to
Mm,
go and do a business venture. But when you look at their business venture, the competition that they're competing with are a lot more hungrier. That the, you know, it makes more sense to figure out what your highest and best use is and then go into that. And that's where the passive real estate investing is. Not everybody's going to be a good entrepreneur. Most aren't. Actually, I don't know, like 90, 95% of them will probably fail, right?
yeah.
Don't do it, guys. 95% of you guys probably suck at this. And like at that point, like if you make a decent salary at your day job, maybe you went to college, right? Maybe you're getting paid more than 60, 80 grand a year. There's an alternate way, like of just buying some rental properties, which is kind of like a fake business in a way. It's not really an entrepreneur business. You don't do anything. It's a freaking passive investing. You should be able to do it on the side, no more
Mhm.
than a few hours a month of your time as you spend your primary time and energy on your day job to generate that money, to generate that savings, to put to investments. And then you just let that grow over time. And then you figure out what your end point is. For most people, all they want is five to $10,000 of passive income a month. That's pretty easy. You just gotta buy a handful of rental properties or go into a bunch of syndication deals, and you're already there. You don't need to create this big machine, right? But again, 95% of people never really get going, so they're always kind of thinking so far in advance. But for some folks out there who already have a decent amount of net worth, you may be already there. You just need to maneuver things around and go put things more into assets that make you cash flow.
100%. I would definitely agree with that. And as far as kind of when someone comes to you and let's just say, I'm just a regular person. I have a 9 to 5 and I say, "Hey Lane, I want more out of life. Like I don't want to work my job until I'm 60, 65 like most people are doing. And, I just want more out of life." What would you recommend like my first steps would be?
I mean, I'm probably assuming that you don't really have any skill sets outside of your day job, nor the
Mm.
entrepreneur fire or need to do something bigger. And that sounds pretty harsh, but I mean, that's what the numbers say, right? Most of these guys
Yeah.
don't pan out to be anything. So what I want is like you to get the highest likelihood of success at your highest output, right? As opposed to just shoot for
Mm.
the moons with these Hail Mary prayers, which is what entrepreneurship is. What I would probably I would look at your finances and be like, hey, if you can save $20,000 a year, well, you can probably buy a rental property every year, and then it's not going to be much in the beginning, but in 5 years, you might have 10 properties kicking back 3,000 passive a month, and at that point, either maybe your spouse can go part time, you can go part time. You just keep doing that for 5 more years, and you're there. You're FI, right? It's not that hard to get to critical mass, or what I call escape velocity. Right? Once you get
Mm.
enough assets that produce enough cash flow, you go weightless, right? Your else gravity doesn't impact you like how it does most people.
Mm.
Yeah, and I feel like that's the problem with people. They don't have that future vision per se. Like they can't look those five years in the future and like have a grasp of what they actually want. So what you're going back to what you said, not having that entrepreneurial spirit, not having the fire, the go in you. You just gotta. How do you? Which way do you develop that besides books?
Well, I mean, I think part of that is like when people have it in their head that to get weightless or zero gravity or hit escape velocity, you need to set off a nuclear bomb explosion. I think they think like you mentioned, like you need to have a multi-million-dollar business. Like you don't need no multi-million-dollar business to go financially free, right? All you need to do is create $5,000 to $10,000 of passive income after all expenses, of course, and you could probably do that with maybe a dozen rentals at least, or at most. Um, just a matter of you kind of paying for the down payments on those assets. And it's not going to take you forever to do. It's actually pretty easy and can be done very simply and passive too. Um,
Mm.
so, I mean, if you want to go create a nuclear bomb, you're probably not going to get started doing something like that. You're going to kind of shoot too high. What I'm kind of proposing here is, hey, just buy some rental properties. I mean, this is what I know, right? I'm not gonna say to go do some like multi-level marketing thing because I didn't do that. All I did is I bought some rental properties and I saved up for another couple of years. I bought some more. I saved up another year. I mean, it's like watching grass grow, but after a while, you start to buy everyone a lot quicker and quicker and quicker. Um, Around 2015, I had 11 of these things, and then things really went asymmetrical and like exponential growth there. But like I think that's where people need to like You don't need, I think too often people talk about those going nuclear type of business options, right? But there's like what I'm saying at simplepassivecashflow.com, we talk about a very prudent strategy of just staying, nothing crazy here. Just buying one rental property so you can save up money. Should buy another one and then buy another one. Like there's nothing crazy here. It's very repeatable. Something any Joe can do.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, that it's a for sure way to get to your goal. It's not going out on a limb. It's not get rich quick. It's a
Right.
patience game, but you will get there. You will hit that goal.
Right. And we don't rely on appreciation, upward market. I mean, we buy things at cash flow, right? And that's kind of the second piece to this is buying things that are fiscally positive every single month. So the rents, if the rents are $1,000 a month, yeah, we pay $100 for the property manager, $100 for the repairs, throw another $100 for capex for some rainy days, so the bigger things to break. And of course, there's the taxes, insurance, but there's still money to pay the mortgage, and then you have a little bit of cash flow, maybe a couple $100 at the end of all that. And that's what your cash flow is. And you do that and just in case of a hiccup in the economy, you can still cash flow and hold on to the asset and keep cash flowing on. This is why we don't buy in places like California, Seattle, New York, Boston. We buy in these secondary, boring markets. Like,
Fair enough, and that makes perfect sense. At least to us, it makes perfect sense. But to the average person, this is probably just expanding their mindset. That because a lot of people, like honestly, before this, a lot of people are probably thinking to themselves, the only way I get out of this rat race is by doing this some multi-million dollar, billion-dollar company, and that's the only way that I'm going to get out of here. So I like how your your approach is a lot different than from what I've seen is a lot different than most. It's for that person who, they're just trying to get to that goal. They're trying to become financially free. And this, what you offer is a way to do that. That's very, very feasible.
yeah. I mean, I'm all for the, shoot for Mars, you might hit the moon, that kind of nonsense like that. And, setting your sights high. But like, let's be honest, realistic here, right? Like life gets in the way. Like it ain't gonna happen for a lot of you guys doing that stuff. You might as well just go for the sure thing. Just go after a handful of rental properties as the immediate goal and see where it takes you from there.
100%. 100%. And I know that you have to run here soon, so we'll kind of wrap this up here. I don't know if you had another question, Daniel, but I just wanted to ask as well. Um, Kind of what would be your number one piece of advice to somebody just in general who's listening to this episode? What's one thing that you really want somebody to take away from this?
Figure out what your pedigree is, and then kind of go from there. What I mean there is like people have primarily three different like attributes: time, money, and knowledge. Some people have a lot of time. Some people have a lot of money. Some people don't have a lot of money. Some people have a lot of certain skill set or knowledge in certain areas, or they have a certain network they can tap into. Um, if you're broke, you don't have a college degree, you can't go make more than 50, 60 grand a year. Well, then you probably shouldn't listen to a thing I'm saying, right? Go find somebody else and go glean some good advice from them. Um, and so you have to go find your models, right? I'm not going to go follow what Arnold Schwarzenegger did, right? Like me and him are not alike, I'm thinking, right? We didn't have the same pedigree, right? Like I work with like high net worth or highly paid doctors, lawyers, engineers.
Okay.
The people walk that linear path that have good paying jobs. And those are the people that I kind of work with, that because it's after a while, it's not really so much about investing, but it's more about taxes, right? And that's the reason why we do real estate. Real estate's kind of the only thing out there that we can not pay taxes with legally.
Yeah.
That's I don't really particularly like real estate, but it has good tax benefits for the IRS. Um, just doing what they're saying that we should do with that stuff. Um, but yeah, like like find the people that are modeling after what you're starting with, basically,
Hmm.
and kind of go from there. Pick your mentors. I mean, there's a lot of I think general mentors out there that people will pick from, like the Tony Robbins, those types of mindset folks. But like, you're gonna need not only a mindset person, but you're gonna need some tactics here. some real
Yeah.
tactics that actually line up to what you're working on, you know.
Yeah. Getting clear cut on your vision and your goals and finding somebody that's done or is doing exactly where you want to be and learning however that looks. A lot of people think that, they're just going to get this knowledge for free. It's like, for me, it's almost disrespectful to ask somebody who's put in 10, 15, 20, 25 plus years into what you're trying to accomplish on day one or year one and ask them to provide all that for you for free without you returning anything. That to me, that's absurd. But to a lot of people, they're like, oh, like this isn't free. It's like,
Yeah, that Kayla guy is an asshole. How come he didn't want to help me out? You know, like that's
you
what people
know,
say, right? Like that's
it's
ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah. And
Yeah.
it's like this
But
person, oh, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say, but that's where you see where their mindset's at. And paying for getting ahead is the same as, let's say, going to school. You know, you rather pay to go to school, get into debt, than paying getting a new skill.
Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah. But I mean, part of it too is just immaturity, right? So people, they're just not aware of that this is how the world works, right? What do you mean? I shouldn't just be able to hit you up for an hour of free coaching, you know? Like I mean, it sounds absurd, right? But like, I think we're all there at one point in our lives. We just didn't know,
yeah.
it's like we get, I mean, I don't really have, I don't give people access to me these days, but when I did, and when I started my podcast a while back ago, people would like email me and be like, hey man, like, if you ever need anything, let me know how I can help you, which is better than like, you know, than nothing, right? But it's like, dude, I don't have any freaking time to tell you, like, figure out what you can do to help me. You go figure it out and you go do it, and then hopefully you hit the mark. If not, thank you for your time and energy, but you're probably not going to put in the effort because that's what people are. But if you did do it, you showed a little bit of freaking initiative, you would probably set yourself apart from the other thousands of bronies asking the same request for free information. Or,
100%.
I mean, here's another hack, right? Like, call it the $100 trick. So, like, maybe there's somebody out there that you'd like to get access to, and they're not like, I had a guy the other, that was a long time ago. He was like, oh, I can get access to like, you've been Mark Cuban, right? It's like, and I was like, really, dude? How can you get access to Mark Cuban? To fund your idea. Like, oh, I can just go on Twitter and I can just DM. Like, all right, man, that ain't gonna work. Like some people, but that's also people think, right?
Wow.
But anyway, I mean, like, I digress there. But like some people, they, if you're not shooting for the moon here, right? You want to shoot for guys that are just a little bit ahead of you, right? Because they may have the time to like spend on you. What I would do is like, you're not gonna do this to me. I'm not gonna help you guys for $100. You guys listening, but like, like say, hey man, like, hey Caleb, like, I respect your time. Can I just send you $100 and you just help me for like 10 minutes? And I think what most times people will do in your case, I guess I don't want to put you on the spot, right? But like,
No, I hear you.
you'd be like, God damn it, like here's one kid who actually like, it's not just a taker. And like, he just rises to, he's like already top 0.1%, right, in your book. And what's probably going to happen is you're probably going to help the guy out for more than that amount of time. And the value is going to be much more than $100, right?
100%. And that's something that I've kind of adapted with my mentor is in the beginning, it was always anything I came across. I mean, it wasn't necessarily my goal was to figure out what he needed. And whatever he needed, I wanted to make sure that I could provide that for him at my own expense. Nothing to him. It's just value that I could give to him in any way, shape, or form. I mean, he's helped me out tremendously. And what I always think to myself is what's something that he needs that I can provide value in, again, at no cost to him. It just me giving that value. And because again, when you start to like to your point, a lot of these guys, these high level individuals, people who are actually doing the things that you want to do, these guys are making a lot of money. So like whatever you could pay, you can't pay them enough typically, until you can provide value that they see, like, okay, this kid can provide value to me. He can do this, he can do that to at no expense to me. That really is a lot more powerful, and I think that's how people have to go about, just again back to building relationships. How can you provide value to this individual instead of, like you said, instead of taking from that person? What can you give that that person will see is valuable?
Right. And that's probably why you've kind of stuck around, right? Because you're the one very rare unicorn actually is doing that stuff where I probably can't even remember all these countless of guys who just want to, you know, hit you up for random stuff.
Oh yeah, I mean, and like you said before, I think we all go through it where you get people that are just
Yeah.
they want it as easy as it'll get. They just want the easy way. They want you to give them everything that you know, and I just think that that's so disrespectful, because Daniel and I have only been in this, just in the space of real estate and just, I guess, entrepreneurship. We've only been in the space for about 2.5 years. But even then, to me, it's almost like, how are you going to ask me to just give you all the things I've paid hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for, all the time, all the late nights that I've sacrificed, all the things I've given up, the events I've given up, the like, just how can you just expect me to just basically give you my computer and give you everything that's in my brain when you're on day one and I've spent thousands of dollars? Like,
Yeah.
does
But
that
that's not how
mean
people
nothing?
think, man. People are like, no, you're an asshole. Screw you.
Man. Oh man. Well, Lane, I know you have to get running. Where can the people find you and connect with you? If they want to just get a hold of you or learn more about your services.
Yeah, they can check out my website, simplepassivecashflow.com, or if they listen to the podcast, Simple Passive Cashflow, Passive Real Estate Investing. We kind of start off with most people just buying little rental properties, and kind of going from there. And then we kind of teach people about taxes, legal, more for accredited investors, once they get going off of that point. But yeah, thanks for having me, guys. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much, Lane. We really appreciate it. Had a great time, and
We really appreciate
really
it.
hope
Thank
that we
you.
can get you back on in the future. So, thank you again. We'll leave all of his links, guys. We'll leave his website in the description for you guys, so you guys can check him out, connect over there. And with that being said, we will see you guys in a little bit. Thank you much.